Welcome to Inside Hollywood on the Hudson. I'm your host, Michelle Servino. With me today is actress, filmmaker, writer, producer, and motivational speaker about addiction and recovery, Marisa Vitali.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here today.
I'm happy that you're here.
Yeah.
It's awesome that we met at the Golden Door Film Festival this year. And I was like immediately obsessed with you, and I like started stalking you like on Facebook. And I was like, okay, who is this girl? She's gorgeous, she's beautiful. And then, you know, of course, you were the winner for raising awareness at the Golden Door Film Festival, which was tremendous.
I know.
Awesome. But I immediately became compelled to find out more about you because A, you're so beautiful and you're this talented filmmaker and you have all these accolades behind you. And I was like, wow. And then I found out about your story that actually Bill was telling me, he's like, oh, I actually went to school with her and we had, you know, we did some scenes together. And so tell me about how you became a filmmaker.
Sure. Well, first off, I just want to say, you know, being at Golden Door Film Festival was such an amazing experience. It's such a supportive community of grace, and the fact that we did win the Raising Awareness Award, I feel as a filmmaker that my job is complete, because that's exactly what I wanted to do with the film Grace, was to raise people's awareness about addiction and recovery and really start a conversation about recovery.
Right.
So for myself, the film Grace is inspired by my first year clean from heroin addiction. And, you know, throughout my time clean, I always journaled, I always wrote my story about how I started using, and I never knew how it ended, because I feel like even today, with so much time later, I feel like the story still continues. You know, it's like the journey still continues. So I never knew what the ending was. And then actually my acting teacher, who I was studying with Bill at the time, kind of gave us all a charge one night. And he was like, you all have a story to tell. Go out there and tell it. Stop waiting for the phone to ring and like just do it, kind of thing. So I left class and I was like, tell me about it. I've been writing this for so long. What is it? How does it end? And the next day I kind of took a nap and I woke up and I just picked up my journal and I just started writing. And when I put the pen and paper down, I realized, oh my God, this is the story I have to tell. Yeah. And really what came out that afternoon was not the story of how I first started using, but how I struggled my first year clean.
Sure.
And so that was really my story that I had to tell. And kind of in rereading it, I also realized that it was a story of recovery.
Sure.
And it was a story about hope and celebration of life. And so that's when I immediately took it and put it in a drawer, because I'm an actress, not a writer. So I have no business doing that. Let me just put this away.
Somebody else is gonna finish that little thing right there,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. But the seed had been planted and it stayed with me for about 6 months. And then I started workshopping the script at a place called the Indies Lab in New York City with a bunch of actors. And, you know, hearing my words for the first time was huge. And I was really able to kind of, you know, do some rewrites and make some adjustments. And then I got to a place where I felt that the script was where I could get it. And at that time, I emailed it over to Alicia Reiner, who plays Bridget in the film Grace. And I just, you know, I just sent it to her and I was just like, hey, I wrote this, you know, love to hear your thoughts, give me some feedback. No expectation that I'm gonna actually be making this into a film. And I emailed it over to her and she emailed me back right away. She's like, oh my God, I love it. When are we shooting it? And so at that point I was like,
oh wow,
great, I guess I'm making a movie. And so that's kind of where the ball started rolling and kind of picked up momentum from there. So yeah,
that's great. And so how did you? So you get home, you write this film, you're inspired to write this whole thing, and then how did you get your cast and crew together? Like, how did that all come about? Because your location is like amazing, like I mean, that diner, like, where is that? That is like an amazing.
It's so. I'm so glad that you really kind of were taken by the space,
and
because for me it was so, that was the one item, like the one budget line item that was a not negotiable, because that's actually the diner that I worked in my first year clean in my hometown on Long Island. It's in Northport. It's called Tim's Shipwreck Diner. So if you're ever on Long Island for like a nice Saturday, Sunday brunch or an amazing lunch, you have to go check it out. But it's actually, it's a historic diner because it's an old train car.
That's,
so kind of gives it that like long feel, you know, and it was really important for me to shoot there because I really felt that it was a homecoming of sorts to be able to have that location. And so the location I knew from when I wrote the script. I always had that that diner in mind in writing it. And, you know, the staff at the Shipwreck and Tim have been so supportive of Grace that they were really wonderful to allow us to come and open up their diner that we could shoot there. And in terms of the cast and crew, you know, once Alicia came on board, we really started kind of having some pre-production meetings and kind of coming up with ideas of directors that I could meet with and other producers that I could meet with. And that's how I was introduced to Chris Ordle, who came on board to direct, who did Earthwork with John Hawkes, that did the festival circuit, and he had great success with that. And so once Chris came on board, he actually was connected with Lynn Moncrief, who's the cinematographer for the piece. He's out of AFI. He was wonderful to work with. And they were both LA based, so they came out to the East Coast to shoot. And then I was also connected with Claudine Merritt, who was the other producer on the film, and she was wonderful. She's out of New York, and so she was really able to kind of step up to the plate when it came time to shoot, because when I was on set, I was primarily an actress, not a producer.
Right.
So she really kind of helmed the production kind of on site. And so those were like our key people for the crew. And then for cast, it was such a wonderful experience because Zach Grenier, who plays Johnny, who's also in The Good Wife, he actually was in Earthwork, which Chris directed. So that's how kind of Zach came on board. It was like just like one big family. And then Chris Kirsten, who's on the second season of True Detective, he plays Nails. He was playing Trevor in the film, and he was actually involved with the script, workshopping it from the beginning. So he was already a part of it. And I feel that one of the most challenging roles to cast was the young waitress, Melissa, because I knew that we only had 3 days in the location, and pretty much we grabbed everything in 1 or 2 takes. So I knew I needed someone that could, you know, be able to play the newly clean addict who's struggling, that was young enough, that was also professional enough, that could handle her own on set in 1 or 2 takes kind of thing, and to be able to bring that depth. So I actually just went to IMDb.
You're kidding.
I swear to God, I went to IMDb one afternoon because I'm like, who am I going to get to play this role? And I went through all the top agencies that had young people divisions and just kind of went through their roster of clients. And then I started going to their websites, looking at their photos, and I came across Stephanie. I was like, she has a great look.
Yeah.
Let me see what she's done. And, you know, she worked on all the New York shows from Law & Order, How I Got My Pants Back. Like, she had a great resume.
Yeah.
But what really got me about Stephanie was that she had done a short film that was on the festival circuit called Meth. So she played a meth addict.
So she had
I was like, oh my
like,
God, she's already
perfect.
worked the character. She can just play that character clean now and like bring her into the diner. So I was like, oh my God, amazing.
She was
and
great.
at the time she was in LA, so I just set up a meeting with her and the director, and they hit it off, and he called me, he's like, oh, she's totally Melissa. I'm like, yes.
Oh, that's
so it was like really
awesome.
wonderful kind of how it all kind of came together like that.
That's so great. That's so great. So we're going to take a short break, and
Okay,
we'll
fantastic.
be right back.
Great. Awesome.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and launch inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net. Jersey City Medical Center consistently receives the highest hospital ranking and ratings in New Jersey. #1 overall hospital in the state. #1 for high-risk pregnancy. #1 for neurological disorders. #1 for stroke. Magnet Award for nursing excellence. A for hospital safety. What makes the Jersey City Medical Center the #1 hospital in the state? Top-rated, award-winning medical professionals. You can see today at the Jersey City Medical Center. Make the #1 hospital your first choice. The Jersey City Medical Center.
Hi, we're back with Marisa Vitali from Grace, the movie.
Yes.
It was an amazing film.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
So Marisa, you are a recovering addict.
Yes.
You are a motivational speaker.
Yes.
You are an amazing filmmaker.
Oh, thank you.
You're a producer, a writer. How does somebody like yourself become an addict? How does that happen? Like, I look at you and I think to myself, of course it can affect anybody, right? But it just doesn't seem likely. So tell me about your journey. Tell me about how this all came to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I feel like we could have a whole show just on that.
Of course.
But, I can definitely give you the short of the long version in sharing that, growing up, I did experience a lot of bullying growing up. And
really?
At that time, I never really knew what to do with those feelings. So I just always pretended like it didn't bother me and, my feelings weren't hurt. And I just would continue to stuff the feelings. And, I'll never forget the first time that I drank at a high school party. I mean, I think we were in junior high at the time, but we went to a high school party and, I had a 40 and something like that. And it was like, for the first time I felt free. Like I didn't have to feel those feelings. I didn't have to kind of, continue to pretend like everything was okay,
Right.
And so having that experience and realizing like, oh wait, if I do this, or if I take this, I don't have to feel that.
Right.
It's like that pretty much kind of snowballed, I can say, and then you're always kind of looking for the next thing that's going to numb you just a little bit more, And I did go to NYU and I went to school in the city and I was very into the club scene at the time and partying and, there's definitely a fine line of when like the party isn't a party anymore and when like, you're not just partying on the weekends, it then becomes like every single night and it's kind of like, where is it that you cross that line kind of thing, and which eventually led me to heroin, and I truly believe that for all addicts, it really is truly a disease of the spirit, and
That's such a beautiful way to say that.
Yeah.
It really is, because it is a disease of the spirit, and it really does change the person that you are and that you want, or that you actually want to be. So it's beautiful that you say it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. And, I think that all of us, whoever is an addict, we all have our own journey with addiction and even with getting clean and our own stories to tell. And, I think it's beautiful when we're able to help others and to kind of share that, to be able to help others. And I know right now it's, heroin addiction especially, and that's just my journey. Ended with heroin, but other people's end with other things. And heroin right now is such on the rise in just all of our communities in suburbia. And it's, people from like your PTA mom to the CEO of your company to your high school quarterback are addicted to heroin right now. And it's a huge epidemic. And I feel that, if I can touch one person with grace, or if I can speak and share my own story with addiction and help someone, then I feel like my job is complete as a filmmaker, as a human in this world kind of thing. There's a lot of pain, and it is a disease of the spirit, and I feel that your spirit has to be in a lot of pain if you just want to completely numb yourself and not feel anything, So with Grace, I really wanted to be able to kind of start that conversation and bridge that gap to create a little bit more compassion around addiction. Because I feel like people that don't know anything about it, it's very easy for us to judge or to point the finger, but in essence, that person is in a lot of pain.
Right.
So
when you made Grace, you were really making that film to inspire others, as well as your motivational speaking, because that's Amazing. And you said you were creating a program actually as well,
Yes,
right? So tell me about your program. Like,
yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm working with some health educators because there seems to be a lot of excitement around Grace in terms of the educational faction, because there is no educational materials on addiction and recovery for health classes, especially at the high school level. Most of it is kind of like on each drug and what happens when, like, what are the outcomes or the effects of that drug. Whereas because Grace is a conversation about recovery, there's no educational tool that's speaking about the nature of addiction and then what it is like to go through that process of getting clean and then what a life in recovery looks like. So I've been working with some health educators to put together a lesson plan to be able to go along with the film as a companion guide, so it can be available in jails, institutions, and schools.
And do you get into the very like nitty-gritty of like, this is what you're going to go through? Or is it more just like, okay, well, you're going to go through withdrawal and you're going to, you know, feel horrible, and like, so how deep do you actually like go into this program? Like, is it the real deal? Because like your movie is really showing the recovery on the other end of it, though. But like in the process of the you know, the
getting clean and the kicking and the going to detox.
And kicking back, right? Because it's not so easy for everybody to just say, oh, I'm done with drugs now.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way. It's a struggle every day. So
and I love that you bring that point up, Michelle, because for me, when I first got clean, I felt that that was my experience. I felt like so many people were like, oh, well, you're clean, you're not using drugs, so you're okay.
So you're okay.
And I'm just like,
I am a mental wreck right now.
You know, I feel like I'm going to break down. Because I felt so vulnerable. I felt so exposed. It was the first time I didn't have a drug or a drink to hide behind.
Sure.
And it was like I had to face all the guilt and the shame and the resentment and the anger and the wreckage of my past. Like, I had to face all of that with nothing to like hide behind. And it was so, it was such a vulnerable experience for me. So I love that you brought up that point, because I think that that's one of the things that I really wanted to touch on. And now that I've been clean for some time, I realize it's not because people necessarily think like you're okay. It's that a lot of people don't even know how to talk about it. They don't know how to talk about it. They don't feel comfortable to talk about it. They don't even really know what to say. So they're just like, oh, well, you're not using, so then that means that everything's
so we don't have to
okay.
talk about that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because, you know, I think that a lot of different you know, subjects that are always difficult to talk about, people don't know what to say. And like I've been reading a lot actually about how like, for instance, like, you know, with Golden Door, like we raise awareness for autism and things that you shouldn't say to a parent, or things that you should ask, or things that are okay. So is that something that you actually put into your program as well?
Yes. So and part of the program is, you know, like you talked about, what that whole process is of someone physically getting clean, as well as, because the disease, it's, you know, the disease of addiction, it's physically, mental, emotional, and spiritual, you know, so it kind of covers all of those components of what that process is of putting down the drug, whatever that drug may be, and then kind of coming to the other side of that as well. And then it also has conversation topics and conversation starters of things that we can say.
Yep. So this is Marisa Vitali. We're going to be right back and take a short break.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers the quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just one path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport, live like you want.
Plaza Auto Body, 700 Tunley Avenue in Jersey City. Your local collision specialist. Body and fender repair. On-site oven-baked paintwork. Fiberglass repair experts. Custom and classic car restoration. All insurance is welcome. 24-hour towing available. Licensed by the state of New Jersey. Plaza Auto Body, 700 Tunley Avenue, 201-222-9999. 3050. Plaza Auto Body, your bumper-to-bumper buddy.
We're back with Marisa Vitali. Marisa, I'm really excited to see your clip here from your film, Grace, and how life imitates art.
Sure. Well, what we're seeing right now is this is our kitchen scene. And for me, it was really important in creating this world is that I really wanted the audience to kind of feel the diner, right? I mean, whenever we go into a diner, you can feel the grease, you can feel the pressure cooker of the diner, the pace of what's happening, and that there's always decisions that have to be made in a very, very quick split second. Now with the three waitresses, you have Melissa, who's the young waitress, and then Janice, it's her story, right? She's a single mother going to family court that day. And there's something that happens that might prevent her from going to court that day. And you also have Bridget as well. So with these three women, what I really wanted to do is I really wanted to portray the different aspects of the addict, right? So you have Janice, who is doing her best to stay clean, make decisions, survive her emotion, do the next right thing and not use. You have Bridget, who's kind of the drama queen, the troublemaker, who, you know, does whatever she wants to do, pays no consequences, doesn't have a care in the world. So she's almost like the active addict. And then you have Melissa, who's newly clean, probably about 60 days, 90 days clean, who's really just kind of living the program, struggling to stay clean in her time. And then you have Janice in the middle that is constantly like walking this tightrope between the two women of like being the active addict, being the clean addict. You know, there's a conversation that happens between Janice and Melissa later on in the film as well, where they're really kind of talking about recovery and like, you know, you can do this. And it's easy to say that in a meeting, but when you're living life on life's terms, like how do I do that?
I think that was one of the most compelling
because
statements.
It's true. You know, it's easy for us when we're in a group of people to be like, yes, I'm not going to use, but when you're faced with those decisions and you're faced with those emotions, like what are you really going to do in that moment, you know? When it's just you and, you know, the man upstairs kind of watching over you and nobody else might know, you know? So so that's kind of what I wanted to do, was really to kind of create that trifecta with the three women in this storyline.
It was a good dynamic, actually. Yeah. It really was, because, and I think that the actresses really did a great job at, you know, portraying like who they actually are in that film. And also what I thought was very interesting was the relationship between I can't think of his name, the guy who the flipper, Johnny,
yes.
And what was her name again?
Janice.
Janice.
Yes.
She, you know, so they were having some sort of like,
because Johnny's really her biggest obstacle. Is like, how is she going to overcome this situation that she feels that she's somewhat trapped in? And that was really important for us when we were casting Johnny, is that we didn't want to do a stereotypical kind of diner type of guy, because the reality is that, you know, Johnny has his own flaws, but he's trying to do the next right thing for his business too. He's down to one waitress. It's a busy time of the day. Like, he has no choice. His hands are tied. Now, how he goes about doing that as you watch the film, you know, the presentation is everything. But, you know, he's trying to make the right decisions for him in that moment as well, you know. So I really wanted to cast someone that could be able to kind of portray, you know, both sides of that coin as well, you know, really to make the characters as complex as possible. And then you have the ex-husband who's still using, but he has custody of the daughter. Right. You know, and I think that just speaks to the nature of the codependent addict using relationship is, you know, like, you complete me, I need you to be whole, I love you, I can't live without you. And it's like always this tug of war back and forth kind of thing. So that was like another element that I really wanted to bring in terms of casting. And, you know, and once again, Trevor, the ex-husband, he feels that he's doing the next right thing for him in that situation. So it was really important to be able to create those kind of, you know, dual characters with each person in the film.
And it was good. And it was also great to see the daughter, right? And to see how the dad was actually, like, has that relationship with her, and how the little girl, how you were struggling without your daughter in that film. I mean, what made you decide to bring in a child? Because you obviously don't have children, right? So what made you decide to bring in a child and put yourself in the perspective as a mother?
Yes.
You know, as a struggling mother, you know, being an addict, and how somehow or another you lost your daughter.
I think that's a fantastic point, Michelle, that you bring up, because, you know, two reasons, really. I mean, it is a short film format, so I always feel like doing a short film is almost like a haiku. Everything in the film has to mean something and has to drive the story forward.
Sure.
So for us, when I was working with director Chris Ordle and we were kind of hammering the script back and forth, it was like, what can raise the stakes highest? That her having to make a decision of staying or leaving the diner has the highest stakes for her as a person,
right.
which would be a child, right? Sure. And having to go to family court and, you know, needing to show up but needing to stay at the job. So we felt that that would be the highest stakes for the short film format. Now, as a character, I know for myself getting clean without having children, but being around so many women that do have children, that are trying to get clean, that have lost their children in the process of getting clean. I mean, I know for myself, just getting clean and being responsible for myself, I had so much guilt and shame and anger and resentment, and the list goes on. But I could never imagine knowing that I lost a child through the process of active addiction as well, and like what that burden would be to carry. And so when I hear women share that, you know, have lost their children due to active addiction and they're actively, you know, doing the next right thing and in the system and trying to get the children back, I'm always so moved by their stories and their strength and the courage to continue to stay clean despite possibly never getting their children back, right, or never having their children want to conversate with them again. So for me, that journey has always been an emotionally moving story for me. And, you know, like this film as well, it's inspired by my first year clean, that first year of feeling vulnerable and raw. And I feel that all the characters are really kind of a composite of different people that I've met through the years of being clean and hearing different stories and you know, a little bit of this person and a little bit of that story and kind of like a meld and a mold. And I can say that for Janice, that was one of the really key components that I brought in for her were all, for me, she's representative of all the women that have ever lost their children to active addiction that are doing the next right thing to, you know, make amends and to show up and you know, to get their life back, because that's what we're all wanting to do. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So Grace.
Yes.
What's next for Grace? I mean, you
have
been
wow,
on
such
the film.
an exciting time.
I know. You've been on the film circuit.
Yes.
I saw that you were in the Cannes Film Festival. Grace was in the Cannes Film, which is humongous.
Yes,
aside from many other very famous and important
Golden Door.
but
one of our faves, for sure. Definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
But what's next for Grace?
Well, there's so many kind of like balls in the air, so to speak, a little bit of a juggling going on. But, you know, we will continue to do the festival circuit, as well as I have started doing motivational speaking on the college and university circuit. So what those experiences have been is screening Grace and then sharing my experience, strength, and hope, and you know, kind of doing Q&As after. We do have the feature, so we're looking to go into pre-production 2016, so really excited about that. And as well as what we discussed earlier, kind of putting together the lesson plan for an educational tool.
That's awesome. And if anybody wants to see Grace, where can they get information? Where can they reach out to you? How can we get this out there so that everybody can see Grace? Because it's such an amazing film.
Oh my God, thank you. Well, you can visit us at our website, which is www.grace-the-movie.com. And we also have a Twitter account, which is Grace_the_movie. And then we are on Instagram with the same name as well, Grace_the_movie. And we're on Facebook as well.
It was great having you.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Okay, I have to give you a big hug.
Of course, thank you so much. Mwah, mwah.
Congratulations.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.